So I just watched House of David episode 4, and there was something really interesting that stood out to me as I was watching the episode. It's right here behind me on the screen. Can you see it? The knight standing in the water. That's really interesting to me, that vision that David had. Well, what it speaks to me is this contrast between David and Saul that I feel like I really saw in this 4th episode. Because what we're seeing is the anointing comes on David. And when that anointing comes on David, certain signs began to manifest. The most obvious one was this vision that goes on right here behind me. I'm curious to see where that's going to go. I thought that was going to get resolved in this episode, but the fact that it's not tells me it's going to be part of David's arc. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing more about this knight back here. I'm assuming it's an angel. I have no idea. It's some type of vision. Can't wait to see, as this unfolds, what are they depicting here? But ultimately, what I feel like I just see in this episode is it's a contrast to Saul. Now, if you remember back to episode 1, when Samuel came and spoke to Saul, and the anointing left Saul, it's like immediately Saul himself started having visions. But his visions were tormenting, because it was that tormenting spirit that came upon Saul. So the anointing leaves Saul, which leaves this vacuum, and this torment comes to his mind. That torment comes to his household. You know, it's called the House of David. So as we look at the House of Saul, we're seeing that vacuum. We're seeing that thing that is missing. So when David gets brought in to play music for Saul, I thought that was really cool because even as they're building the chemistry and that relationship between David and Saul's daughter, Michal, which is really cool, it's also really tragic because as much as I see their love building and all of that stuff, I've read the book, and spoiler alert, in the book, it reaches a bad point between those two to the point that she's even embarrassed by David's worship. It's really kind of tragic as you read the story in the Bible and you see this love that is so innocent and pure building in these episodes, and you get this idea of where it's going. But anyway, as David enters the palace and he starts playing for Saul, and everybody in the room cries. And I loved how he looked right at Michal, like she said, and the camera focused on her, blurred out everybody else because she said, "Sing just to me," because I love seeing David's nerves in that. I thought that was really, really interesting. Anyway, you see everybody crying. You see Michal realizing as she's around David, there's something she misses in the palace that has been gone. They don't know how to put their finger on it, but we do, the audience. We can look at it and say, they can sense the anointing on David, and they can sense that the anointing has left Saul. They might not have those words, and they might not know exactly what that is. So I thought that was a really interesting contrast. The Spirit came on David, and we're seeing the fruits of the Spirit in David's life, and we're seeing that impact everywhere, especially in that contrast between David and Saul. Did you see episode 4? What did you think? That's what I found most interesting. There's lots of other elements in that episode as well. Let's talk in the comments.